everyone. Welcome to the AI Talk Show. I'm Asha Saxena, and today we're going to talk about the most consequential frontline in artificial intelligence. I would say something that really matters to all of us, that is life sciences. I think we've been talking about AI a lot. To me, I think healthcare and education is something close to my heart. And when I talk about healthcare, public health, life sciences, medicine, and how we will see our well being, how do we live longer, healthier, and how do we find cure for diseases? I think AI is transforming medicine from intuition based to evidence based, and we've seen a lot of results. We've seen a lot of development, innovation that is happening in this field. It's truly helping us analyze complex clinical, and we've done so much work in imaging, genomic data, and we've seen some results in that. But what AI is helping us is turning what used to be static information into actionable insight. It's helping us improve outcomes, and it's helping us accelerate discovery. And Gaurav and I were talking briefly about what excites her. And I think that is so exciting to hear the professionals in life sciences and healthcare really using AI to change the outcome, change and accelerate the processes. What we're seeing is that these algorithms predict diseases before symptoms appear. Digital twin, which I'm actually working on a research project right now, how digital twin can stimulate treatment plans and machine learning models can optimize clinical trials. I think the future of healthcare isn't about replacing physicians. Of course, we talk about, are we going to replace professionals and especially physicians? I think it's really about augmenting human expertise with intelligence that learns, adapts, and scale. It's really about using AI as our assistant, an intelligent assistant or a coworker, realizing that the potential of AI, we just need more than just model. We need cross-functional collaboration. We need governance. We need ethical foundation that can build trust and transparency. And that's what exactly we're going to discuss today. I'm so glad that I have here Gaurav, who's going to be joining us, someone who understands both science and the systems that drive innovation. She is the Senior Vice President for R&D at Clario, a leader in healthcare technology and clinical trial innovation. Gaurav, thank you for joining us. It's great to have you here.
Thank you, Asha, for having me. It's my pleasure to be here, especially to talk about a topic I'm so passionate about.
Before we get started, can you tell us a little bit about your career journey and how did you get here in life sciences?
Sure. I'll just start with my introduction quickly. My name is Gaurav Josan. I'm Senior Vice President. I lead R&D across all of Clario's business units. I have been for more than 2 decades within the life sciences and medical imaging industry, driving next generation technology solutions, and most recently, pushing the boundaries further with the AI initiatives I have led as it relates to cardiac, respiratory imaging, and the various other therapeutic areas, as well as indications. My career journey has been very, I would say, exciting. I did my master's in electrical engineering, and that's really where I got the exposure to medical imaging. Starting to work on medical imaging as part of my thesis, I became so engrossed, and I feel I've been really lucky to continue with medical imaging within my career. And then within 5 years, I transformed into life sciences industry, leading innovation, not just as it relates to medical imaging within clinical trials, but across all the other indications, BUs, like like cardiac, respiratory, 𝗂𝗃, etc.
That's really great. It's great because I think when we think about mankind, when we think about the big challenges humans face, healthcare is number one. Of course, education and others, but healthcare is something. They say if you have your health, you have everything. And with the kind of diseases that we are seeing, I mean, COVID was a great example of really thinking about how do we uh, solve these problems of having disease control in public health becomes a really big issue. You've been someone who's been bridging technology, research, product innovation, and you've seen AI reshaping healthcare delivery in your career span. From your perspective, how is AI redefining architecture of healthcare system, from drug development and clinical trials to patient care? Where do you see the most profound shift happening? Is it data interpretation, workflow integration, or is there anything else which you see where and how medical decision making itself is changing? What are you seeing firsthand?
So overall, Asha, I would say AI is pretty much transforming all aspects of both life sciences as well as healthcare. And both of them are really related to each other, where life sciences is pretty much foundational to having a bigger impact within the healthcare industry. So as we look at the overall life sciences landscape, I would say the biggest impact is in drug discovery and approval acceleration. So that's where AI is being embedded in all steps within the process. And this is specifically the area where I have led multiple initiatives. As we think about accelerating drug discovery and approval, we are embedding AI right from discovering the drug target, then doing the trial design, streamlining patient recruitment, and then all the way up to data capture, monitoring the data, getting all the data analyzed, and then ready for regulatory approval. As on an average, a phase 3 trial today collects around 6 million data points. That's a lot of data to analyze, get ready for submission. And this is where I feel AI is such a game changer. With the power of AI to analyze vast amounts of data, pretty much for the various steps, the legwork, the complex legwork is already done, and then still keeping humans in the loop, making sure we are actually increasing accuracy and not reducing it. I feel that's the key where AI is moving the needle, and we are seeing the results. So I'll just give few examples. For example, checking the data quality at the site level itself as they're uploading the data. This AI model itself, and again, there are multiple AI models that make it happen, but the impact is 5 days being reduced to seconds for checking the data and giving near real-time feedback to the site user as they are working on the data, as well as giving them an opportunity to recollect the data. If the quality is not as expected, then they have the chance, they still have the patient in front of them, they can recollect the data. Again, without AI, you would get the response in 5 days, hey, data quality is not good, but at that point, you can't do anything about it. That's one example. Similarly, as we think about spirometry overreads, reducing from 48 hours to doing the overread in seconds with AI. Again, very important, keeping human in the loop for critical decisions. So I feel these are few examples within the life sciences industry. And as we pivot towards healthcare, definitely drugs are foundational to healthcare. Within healthcare, medical imaging and diagnosis, I feel, are the most mature areas right now, where we have multiple tools that are already approved by FDA and EMA and are being utilized today. As well as we look at the approval of these drugs, the accuracy with the machine learning models is more than 90%, which is far more as you compare it with human readers. So I feel that's where AI is really helping us move the needle. Like in past, there are things we would think about as technology professionals. Hey, I wish I could solve this problem. I feel now with AI, we have the tool at our hands and we can solve the complex problems way easier than with traditional software development methods.
I love your examples because I think McKinsey had that study where they said the ROI on the project, 95% of the projects are not showing the ROI. And I think your example showed a very quantifiable impact on the process efficiencies, accuracy, which I think is really uh, very hopeful for people when they think about or they read such research studies which say that only 95% of the projects are showing the results or the ROI for AI initiatives. Um, when people talk about the life cycle of AI project, I in my book I wrote about the four quadrant, the power quadrant. I talk about using AI as is a innovator that you can actually innovate new products. or it could be an optimizer where you're actually optimizing the processes. And I think you spoke really nicely about those two impacts where AI can have, which is either it can be an innovator to innovate new ideas or products, or optimize, create efficiencies. The 5 days to seconds on data quality is a great use case that is very promising. But when you think about AI, or the potential of AI in healthcare or life sciences, the impact only happens when technology actually moves from theory to practice. A lot of the projects land up staying in the sandbox and not really seeing the life. And it also happens because there's so much excitement, there's so much buzz about AI, everybody wants to do AI. And so they land up starting all these POCs on all different areas and never really taking it to production. Or when they go to the production, the measurement is not there, where this studies show that there's no impact. I love the fact that very nicely when you quantified, either in clinical operations or data quality, but even if it's imaging, I mean, we've seen AI being used in imaging or diagnostics for a while. um, where do you see the most meaningful return from AI adoption today? And what are the underlying factors? You spoke about data quality a little bit, but uh, what is the power of interdisciplinary teams or regulatory collaboration that is helping the progress of these projects?
Sure. That's a lot of stuff, Asha. And I feel the key is getting this stuff right to be able to implement meaningful AI. So
Yes.
just to start with the areas where I see AI adoption and AI really making a big impact, I would say improving the accuracy of medical diagnosis. This is where empowering the physicians, and again, as you spoke initially, this is not about replacing the physicians. This is
Yeah.
really about empowering them. Empowering the physicians where the complex, the cumbersome manual tasks are done for them, providing them with the data. And I feel AI is also helping us bridge the overall experience gap as we think about radiologists, pulmonologists, like somebody who just started their career 2 years into reading versus somebody who's been reading for 10 years. When you train an AI model, they are basically trained across the board, where data that's read by 10, 15 years radiologists is also being fed to that AI model. So the AI model is pretty mature. So I feel it's definitely helping us bridge the experience gap. And it's, in my head, it's like a superpower for the physicians, radiologists, pulmonologists. And I'll give a real life example with ILD disease. So this is interstitial lung disease. Detection of this disease, the accuracy percentage with human readers is 50%. But when you empower human readers with AI model, again, trained across the data set, that's when the accuracy increases to greater than 70%. So that's more than 20% increase. And think about a patient, like at a single patient level getting diagnosed 5 years before versus the symptoms continuing to progress for 5 years. And by the time you get your diagnosis, you feel it's too late. So I feel that's where AI is so powerful in empowering the physicians. Now let's talk about how to actually implement meaningful AI. I always say one thing, AI is a team sport. This is not just a technology initiative, let's get it going. It's school technology, let's implement. It's about picking the right use cases, and then cross collaboration as well as governance is very critical.
Yeah.
One thing I would bring up is like within our organization, as we started thinking about AI and realized that it's truly a team sport, it's not just technology. So we joined forces within technology, security, legal, and the science team to make sure we are picking the right data set to train the AI models, we are solving the right problems, and then we are continuing to monitor the AI models for accuracy. And if they need to be retrained as we deploy them in production, then we have a process in place. Like if we see the accuracy dropping by a certain percentage, then you pull it back, you retrain it, and then you put it back in production. So that's where the governance, setting up governance model upfront becomes critical as well.
Again, there's so many elements that makes a AI project successful. Having the right team, collaboration, the right data, the quality of the data, the model. So I think there are a lot of moving pieces. And you shared some of the successes, and I think the successes creates the inertia. It's successes feed successes. So when you start seeing the results, you get excited. And I can see it in your voice about the excitement of the use of AI within your practice. But truly, it's not a straightforward, easy path. What are the biggest challenges you faced the end result is great and you can see actually quantifiable results. But what were the biggest challenges you faced as you were taking this journey, and how did you overcome that? So, especially for the people who are listening, what could be the takeaways for them to know that, yes, these three things could be a big challenge for me, and how do I overcome that?
Sure. So as I started on this journey, I would say more than 7 years back, at that time, AI was just becoming mainstream. Like right now, it is fully mainstream. But at that time, there was not a lot going on within the AI field. That's where, and especially working within the regulatory industry, we always have to make sure we are fully compliant with any and everything that we do. And at that time, we didn't even have some of these AI regulations that are starting to come in terms of guidance from FDA and from EMA. So that's where we had to make sure we are compliant. We put our own guardrails in place. So we are implementing and deploying meaningful AI. And that's where the collaboration across departments became the key to achieve that. And then closely monitoring as there was more progress within the AI landscape, like with the explosion of LLMs, that's when I feel it became way easier to solve a problem. With LLMs, AI is not the challenge anymore. Out
Yeah.
of the box, the LLMs are giving you so much functionality. You can quickly put a technology solution together and implement it. So implementation is all good, but then there's the compliance piece where you have to be very careful what all needs to be in place. Guarding against the bias in terms of training data is super crucial. Human in the loop for critical decisions is super crucial. One takeaway I would say from my personal journey, I would not say fail fast. I would say pivot fast. Like in my book, there is no failure, but you should definitely, like, AI is very different from traditional software development, and it's evolving at an unprecedented pace. So that's where you have to keep up with how quickly you have to quickly get going. Don't keep thinking about it. And the other thing would be pick finite number of use cases. There are endless possibilities with AI, but pick your top three, max five, and go after them. Do not think, hey, these 50, like when you start talking across department, people come up with this big list, but then prioritize and only focus on the top three, max top five.
I love that, because I do agree that if you don't prioritize, then you have millions of use cases running around, and then failing, because you can't really diversify so much and try to quantify the results. Um, you know, when we think about innovation, we always think about governance and ethics and responsibility. And I was at a conference recently, and somebody said to me, governance is bad, because it limits the innovation. And I was actually in EU, and the EU laws, but some people were complaining about it. But I think there has to be a balance. And I keep saying that if you don't have lane and you're running, then you're running, you don't know where you're running. So having a lane so you can run fast is important. So having some boundaries is important. So I'm in a favor of having the balance of governance, ethics, and responsibility of innovation. You can't think about governance, ethics as roadblocks, or compliance as a roadblock. You need to just know what your boundary is. And I think there should be a balance. Over indulgence of innovation without compliance, or compliance without innovation, becomes a problem. But when you think about AI becoming embedded in life science, the challenge isn't just the innovation, it's the innovate responsibly, especially in a field like life sciences, because it's working with people and people's data and people's sensitive, information. And they say the healthcare data is like what the most valuable data set in the uh, market where they're selling the data. So, given the sensitivity of the healthcare data and the regulatory rigor in the industry, how organizations are striking the balance for you, in your view, between speed and stewardship? The governance, are there some governance models or ethical principles do you believe are essential to ensure transparency, compliance, patient trust as we continue on this journey to evolve AI?
Absolutely, Asha. Patient privacy, like you correctly said, is prime important. So that's where we have to make sure any data that we are using to train the AI models is fully de-identified. There is no way to re-identify it back and connect it back to a patient, as well as use aggregated data. Like this is data across the board, again, based on the use case. And with AI, picking the right training data is the key. So patient privacy, making sure there's no way to re-identify. And then I would say also putting in place the security guardrails is
Yeah.
very important. Like cybersecurity, making sure there are no security vulnerabilities, because if somebody is able to manipulate your training data, they can pretty much manipulate the accuracy of your AI models. So making sure those guardrails are put in place very early on, and they absolutely cannot be an afterthought.
You know, a lot of the listeners, I'm sure a lot of us are in the midst of either starting these AI projects or in the middle of AI projects or trying to deliver the value from these projects. So when you think about experimentation to enterprise impact, that's a very common thing in a lot of us, our minds. Um, and I feel like a lot of organizations still are, even though in 2023 we said people are experimenting with AI, that's the time when people are looking into it. And a lot of people created the pilots or proof of concepts. But there are very few isolated successes there people are seeing. And we spoke about that a little bit before. But when you think about real transformation, when you're thinking about AI at scale, when you're trying to create that enterprise impact with AI, not just siloed project which are quantifiable, when it becomes a part of the clinical or operational fabric, what guidance would you offer people who are listening right now to move from experimentation to real world implementation? Is it the mindset, infrastructure? What about partnership, maybe buy versus build or build versus buy or partner? They're saying like you could, think about you don't have to build everything now because of the models being available to you, or partner with people. So what in your experience have been a success in achieving the enterprise-wide AI maturity in organization?
You bring up a great point, Asha, in terms of build versus buy. And I feel specifically as we think about the capabilities of LLMs, it becomes a very important decision whether you solve a problem using an LLM, customizing it with your own data, or is it a proprietary AI model that you should be building? So I would say that's the initial decisions as you are picking your use cases, prioritizing the ones that you feel will have real wide scale impact. You also need to pick what's the right solution to solve the problem. The second part, get your data ready. Like this is where, many times we start thinking about data a little bit in between. I would not even say afterthought for this one, like for the cybersecurity one. You should really start getting your data ready upfront. Data is the key for AI models as well as for achieving high accuracies. So as you start going after certain use cases, make sure you're also getting rest of your data ready. That would really help you move the needle quicker. And then build versus buy. Again, if somebody has already solved the problem, there
Right.
is no need to reinvent the wheel. So that's where you should always be watching out if somebody has solved the problem, integrated, utilize it, and there are subscription models, various opportunities available to make faster progress.
I always say at the AI Factor Institute that you start with understanding where do you want to have the impact with AI. Is it, optimize, innovate, accelerate, or multiply? And then you need to think about your data. Data is the core to your AI models, the quality, the data management, having clear objective, making sure you can actually educate literacy culture, and then comes the transformation. So really thinking about your journey, having a prioritization, focusing on what you want to deliver, and then creating your AI flywheel becomes really important to create the scale. There's so many takeaways, and I can, Gaurav, keep talking to you about this because I feel we are all on this journey. It is so important that we share what our learnings are, what our successes are, but most important, what our struggles are, where we are, where our opportunities for growth is. As you say, it's not a failure, it's pivoting. Think about where can you pivot to really create that impact. But I feel like we have so much power right now as the leaders in this industry. I mean, you don't have to be just an engineer. You could be a product designer. You could be a business unit head to be able to use this technology to create the impact in your business or for the stakeholders in your organization. So the power is in your hand. I want to thank you, Gaurav, for coming here and talking to us about it, because I think this is important discussion for all of us to have is what is working, what's not working, what are the learnings, and how do we pivot and how do we create the ROI that AI can truly provide us. We do have a superpower in our pocket. How do we use it depends upon us. So thank you so much for coming today, Gaurav. Really appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you for having me, Asha. And thanks, everyone.
And to everybody, I feel that what what stands out from this conversation for me is that AI in healthcare, life sciences, or any industry isn't about technology. It's profoundly about humans. I think it's about you and me, and it's about people who are using it, creating it, developing it. The future depends on how well we integrate intelligence with empathy. It's I did a TEDx and I talk about human upgrade, and I talk about why it is so important that we bring the right values and put the right automate the right ethics so that what we build can create the right precision with purpose. For leaders, I think today who are watching, remember AI won't replace human judgment, it will reshape it. The organization that will succeed are the ones that will combine data driven systems with human centered design. I think we cannot leave the human out of AI and it's going to stay empowered. I was at a session with the board of directors, and they said to me that oh, we could have this session run by an AI. And I said, absolutely. But you would need a human to direct the AI to run the session like this. So I think humans are the key element in developing AI to provide the results that we're looking for. The clinicians, the researchers, the patients, all need to be in. And I'm so glad, Gaurav, you joined us for this important conversation. And I think this conversation needs to continue in healthcare, in education, in retail, in CPG, in pharma. We're going to continue these conversations. We're going to continue bringing thought leaders in the industries to have these conversations. So until next time, I'll see you all. I'm Asha Saxena. Thank you so much for joining the AI Talk Show.